Dish the dirt.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'll try and keep this short, like Tom.
Hey!
Have a couple more drinks and I'll sound a whole lot funnier, alright? But firstly, before I start, I just want to say a massive thank you for everyone to coming out and celebrating my special day of being best man.
Yeah.
I've seen all the gifts and honestly, you should know I can't. I don't know how I'm going to get home. Well, we finally made it, and although the pandemic pushed back this wonderful occasion, it's given Rosie and Tom the chance to settle into their new home, create more memories, and with the new date, it's allowed the people they wanted here most to attend. So where do I begin? Nowhere. Best man's job in his speech is to embarrass the groom, yes. Which makes a lovely change because Tom's been embarrassing me for years. I had to put it. Anyway, although I've had to narrow down the many stories, there's a select few that I'd like to share with everyone. Me and Tom met in school, and although I wasn't invited to his 12th birthday party, we began to build our friendship. The foundations of which were built by Tom letting me copy his coursework and taking the blame for all the stupid stuff that we got up to. In exchange for protection from bullies, and tips on how to talk to women. On one occasion, Tom even got caught with a flash drive containing hundreds of images of nude ladies. What can I say? Tom was innocent. But he took one for the team. I do wonder if Tom had never met us, where he'd be now. Perhaps brushing shoulders with the likes of Elon Musk and Bill Gates. Well, I guess we'll never know. Throughout our teens, we created a lifelong friendship. I introduced him to all my friends, and he introduced me to his only friend, Steve. After turning 18, you didn't hear that, Ian. We did what all teenagers do. We'd go out drinking, we'd go to parties, and ultimately created the memories that would last a lifetime. And as for Tom, he quickly gained the rep for going missing on nights.
He never lost that rep.
Yeah, true. So I'll set the scene. It was many years ago. A group of us went out for a night out in Derby, as we would most weekends. After a heavy night of drinking, we ended up back at a friend's. And to our horror, there were signs of a break-in. We searched the house. We checked for missing jewellery, TV and money. TVs and money. But nothing was missing. It's interesting because on further investigation, it turned out the only bag that was missing, yep, you guessed it, was Tom's belongings. So unless the burglars wore children's-sized chinos, wore the same prescription glasses as Tom, and had a thing for second-hand toothbrushes, it must have been Tom who had smashed through the back window to get in. However, Tom denied any recollection or link to the crime. Whether he ends up climbing a mountain at 6 a.m. without his shoes in a mankini, whether he ends up in the wrong house, won't go into that, or whether he's rudely awoken by the cleaners as he sat there with his pants around his ankles, asleep in a portaloo. One thing is always certain, Tom always makes it back alive. Moving swiftly on, I'd like to talk about a trip that would change two people's lives forever. Tom and Rosie meet on a drinking holiday in Malia. Although our memories of that time were blurry, we all remember one thing. We'd often be asking, where's Tom got to? And lo and behold, we'd find him 3 vodkas deep by the pool with Rosie at 9 in the morning. Match made in heaven. Being the concerned friend that I am, and a little bit afraid that Tom might be missing out on all the hilarious stories that we'd talk about when we got back, I decided to have a word. I always remember what I said. Come on, Tom. Why are you ditching us for a girl that you barely know? Come and have some fun with the lads. It's not like you're going to marry her. Well, don't I look foolish now?
Yay!
Neither of them could have known at that point that Malia was now to be the setting to the start of their love story. A small coastal town known for its vibrant and party nightlife, STIs, and cheap alcohol. Although I didn't see Tom much on that holiday, I've seen a lot of him over the years. And perhaps a bit too much than we bargained for on the stag. And I've realised Rosie must be with him for his money. Because she's certainly not with him for the size of his cock. I digress. Tom and Rosie were now an item, and he couldn't get enough. Tom was smitten, and he was adamant after a night out one time in Nottingham that he was going to go and see Rosie. He jumped in a taxi to Sheffield, and it cost Tom £150. That's how we knew Tom was well and truly in love. One of the more recent stories came just a few years back. Tom went out for drinks with his workmates. Obviously, in typical Tom fashion, he got belligerently drunk and then organised for Rosie to come and collect him. On the way to fetch him, Tom slowly became more and more unresponsive. He wasn't answering the calls, and he was sending automatic text replies.
For his watch.
Yeah. Eventually, Tom answered one of the many calls on his Apple Watch and informed Rosie that he had no idea where he was, and he had no idea where his phone was. Rosie continued to call Tom's phone and eventually got through. A lady answered, who said she'd found Tom's phone and that it was now demanding that Rosie had to cough up £100 to get it back.
Did you not?
After some negotiations with what turned out to be the cheekiest homeless woman in the UK, they met down a dark back street in Derby and the transaction took place. With gritted teeth, the cash was handed over and the Operation Get Tom's iPhone Back was complete. Sometime later, with sheer determination and a little bit of dumb luck, Tom was spotted stumbling down the road. Rosie wrangled her soon-to-be husband into the car and they headed. The whole ordeal lasted between 2 and 3 hours. And again, in typical Tom fashion, he couldn't remember a thing the next morning. So Rosie did what we'd all do the next morning, which was to take Tom's bank card, buy herself breakfast and lunch, and of course repay herself the money. This is just another example of how strong their relationship is. God help you on the honeymoon to Bali. Just make sure you've got plenty of emergency funds to negotiate with, okay? Speaking of the honeymoon, I was surprised to hear that it wasn't to Turkey, so that Tom could get his long overdue hair transplant. As I sit here and write this speech, I've been desperately trying to remember a time where Tom's been sensible. He's not the most sensible when it comes to catching flights, as they've both missed a few. He's not that sensible with money. And as you can tell from the stories, he's certainly not sensible when he's had a drink. However, I do think the most sensible thing he's done in his life was putting a ring on Rosie's finger.
Oh.
All jokes aside, Tom is probably the most intelligent person I know, which says a lot. He's never let any of his friends down, and I'm sure that he'll never let Rosie down either, and he's going to make a great husband. I'd like to say, from the bottom of my heart, that I'm truly happy for you both. Rosie, you look amazing. And I have to say, the dress makes a lovely change to the trousers you normally wear in the relationship. No, but seriously, looking at you both today, I'm confident that you will have a long and happy life together. And I feel privileged to call you both my friends. So, without further ado, I'd like to take this opportunity to ask everyone to raise their glass. And I'd like to ask Rosie and Tom to take each other by the hand. Take each other by the hand. I want you to stare into each other's eyes. And I want you to just take this moment to realise that you're looking at the person who is statistically most likely to murder you.
Yeah!